Greetings from Berlin and welcome to GMF Arts Dialogue, connecting artists and creatives around the globe to talk about their role as cultural commentators and innovators in these turbulent times. Well, in this first episode, I'm delighted to be joined by two music festival directors who spend every waking minute channeling a cultural icon, one in Lagos, Nigeria, and one in Bonn in Western Germany. Stephen Walter is the new director of the Beethoven Festival in Bonn, named after Germany's arguably greatest and certainly best-known classical composer. Stephen is also a cellist and a seasoned culture manager. And also joining me is Yeni Anikulapo-Kuti. She's director and founder of the Felabrationfestival down in Lagos, Nigeria, which commemorates the life and legacy of her late father, Fela Kuti, the legendary Nigerian musician and social activist who's best known for pioneering the Afrobeat genre of music. And so we're going to talk about how they literally stand up and face the music every single day and communicate these respective legacies to a world in flux. Welcome to both of you, and I'm very, very pleased that you could join me.
Thank you very much.
Hi, well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeni, I'm going to start with you because you founded the Felabration in 1998. That was a year after your late father, Fela Kuti, passed away. And he's been described as a tornado of a man. He's a pioneer of Afrobeats and one who never, ever missed a chance to speak truth to power, and whose legacy really as a human rights activist is legendary. So I'm just wondering, tell us, how do you keep Felabration true to his spirit year after year?
Well, you see, when my father passed, he used to love to celebrate his birthdays. And he died 2 months short of his 59th birthday. And I thought to myself, how am I going to keep this man's legacy alive? And it came like a eureka moment. Have a festival celebrating his birthday. Because in this part of the world, we celebrate death. I prefer to celebrate birth. Mm-hmm. And he had so much to offer and so much to give. I felt it shouldn't just go with his passing. I should continue. So that kept him in the minds of people, kept his music in the minds of people. So why I did it is for that reason. And I mean, it hasn't been easy. It's been very turbulent. We had the first one in 98, then had the next one in 2000. It's how I've managed to do it is by believing in what I'm doing, believing in this festival 100%.
And obviously holding it around the time of his birthday, which is October 15th, so just a couple of months ago.
Yes.
In 2020, it has been amazing how it's grown. It went from a weekend to taking place over a full week. And in 2020, of course, Felabration had to go fully digital because of the COVID pandemic. But the last one in October was a hybrid, if I'm not mistaken, with a number of 50th anniversary releases of some of Fela's albums, digital streams, etc. But Felabration is much more than just a music festival. Can you tell us what else goes on there?
Oh, we have the symposium, we have the art competition, we have the dance competition, we have the dress like Fela competition, we have the schools debate. Now, the schools debate, for me, I'm very passionate about the schools debate because this is the secondary school, the high school. So that's between 11 and 16 years old. The kids are between 11 and 16 years old. And a lot of them never have heard of Fela. So by bringing doing this festival and having the schools debates about things that were important to Fela, like our topics should is Africa ready for a female president? That kind of topic is,
so
should you be president when you're 70? So we're trying to nurture the young ones and keep them, conscious.
And keep them engaged.
So that's I'm very passionate about.
I can understand that, and keep them is very much reaching out to the younger generations who can
Yes.
learn about his music and, of course, learn about his incredibly revolutionary ideas and his tendency to think outside the box, obviously. Stephen Walter, you just took on this job as the director of the Beethovenfest on the 1st of November, so I understand it's very early days, but you edged out 9 other candidates to take over the position from Nike Wagner, and you were hired really because of your history of taking different and even radical approaches. So I'm wondering, how do you intend to approach this festival?
Well, Beethoven is in many ways has a huge legacy of interpretation and reception he's 250 years old, right? So there are many generations of different, many layers of handling with this historical figure, so that we sometimes forget what he actually stood for. And my approach is to try to, find manifestation of that spirit, which is also a very edgy, very if not even revolutionary kind of vibe that he stands for, and that his music, of course, also expresses. He's from a time of great change and almost turmoil, and I think we're in a similar time today. And my approach is to try to find ways of finding this kind of drastic emotionality and direct sensitivity that is in his music, and kind of bypass parts of the kind of a little bit tired tradition of interpreting high culture Beethoven interpretation. So it's kind of going back to the roots in many ways.
What is it, just quickly, what do you admire about him most, or what do you identify with most in Beethoven?
He's just such a forward-thinking artist. It's just amazing. If you deal with his biography and, of course, with his music, everything about it is looking forward, coming from a rich past, and also kind of not forgetting about the tradition and the heritage that is behind this long musical tradition. But it's very much forward-thinking. It's very innovative. It's in many ways also political. He was one of the first to see himself as a truly humanist composer, which was, of course, his time too. So in too many dimensions, he's a forward-thinking artist, and that's also something very inspiring for us today, I think.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned when we spoke earlier that Bonn, Beethoven's birth city, provides a very interesting context. So I'm just wondering if you could talk a tiny bit, just quickly, about the role of festivals as a space for societal dialogue in terms of what your audiences are expecting. Have people's expectations changed, I guess is what I'd like to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, So older generations have an entirely different approach to culture than younger generations have, and the challenge is really to find ways of bridging that just habitual divide when it comes to approaching a live music performance, for example. I think we can go long ways to find ways of providing a platform where all these different audiences actually can come together, not necessarily in the same event, but on the same platform, on the same kind of societal experience that a festival could be. So it's about really diversity, finding diverse ways of presenting music and a diverse programming that might be able to kind of be approachable for all these different societies we really have in today's world. And it's really important to try to build some kind of umbrella that we might be able to get together again, particularly after the pandemic.
Yeni Kuti, I'm wondering if I can get you to respond to this. I mean, Nigeria is facing a lot of challenges, including major debates over things like secession and separatism. How has your festival responded to the fragmentation that you see in society, and why is culture so important?
Well, this year, for instance, because Fela's music spoke to people, and it spoke truth to power, like you said. I was listening to Stephen, and he was talking about how the young people are so different to the older people, and we have that same thing here. The younger people, the younger people don't really know who Fela was, but they know him because of his message, because he had a very important message to give them, and so that message is this year we let him speak to them from the grave. Viva Nigeria, Viva Africa, long live Nigeria, long. So for those who are crying for secession, look, it's not the answer. We should find a way to live together in peace. The Nigerian structure is a colonial structure. So we know that. We have lived like this for the past 60 years, or 61 years. Let's find a way to still live together without fighting, because fighting is not going to change things. It's just only going to make things worse. So we use Fela's music. So a lot of years, the title of Felabration will be Fela's message. Here, this is what Fela said, and you know him maybe because his music is more. Fela called himself a classical African musician. It's more classical, so the youth prefer the hip hop, the dance. So we find a way to merge Fela's message with Felabration so that they can think and it can resonate.
That's right.
With
and
them.
We lost your audio there for a second, Yeni. So fear not for man, I think, is the message that you're talking about applying as the theme to next year's Felabration. I'm just wondering, because you've said that you would like artists to be more critical, the artists that are taking part in the festival as well, towards government, towards their own audiences. I'm just wondering, how challenging is it to be true to his political legacy in the context of Nigerian politics today?
Well, you know how governments are. They don't like to face the truth. That's right. So it is challenging, and you have to have a heart of no fear. So this is telling them, look, don't be afraid. Still speak truth to power. What can they do? They're not going to kill you. They'll lock you up. You will get free. You know how many times was Fela locked up? So we're trying to say, look, don't be fearful. Speak truth to power. That's the only way we can get this change that we desire.
Yeah.
I'm sounding a bit poetic there, aren't I?
As your father proved many, many times that was definitely possible. Stephen, Beethoven is such a superstar and a cultural icon as a musician, but more recently, obviously, it's, as you mentioned, his humanist impulse that has captured the political imagination, especially here in the European Union. Can you talk just a little bit about his significance as a symbol of European unity and how our perceptions of him have changed over the years? Yes,
well, Beethoven was used and also misused in all kinds of ways in the last 250 years. So let's say that the more positive adaptations of his music is in the realm of the political integration of Europe, because he was a truly European artist, one of the first to actually also demand this kind of transcending humanism, and so obviously the melody from the Ninth Symphony is the official hymn of the European Union, but also just right now a far right movement in France has been using snippets from his symphonies to underlie some quite radical and really quite disgusting political videos. So he can be used in all kinds of different ways, and we of course hope for and fight for the interpretation that is the only true interpretation, which is that he is a force for an energy kind of for bringing people together and actually taking this idea of humanism to the next stage even. And so it's really what we do with it. he's been used and misused for good and for bad. So it's a constant fight, really, to use this cultural, this incredible body of work for good in today's world.
To try to contextualize that music, as you say, music being something that happens in the present day. I'm wondering what about the tension between the tradition of classical music and the fact that Beethoven's universal success is partly due to, worldwide colonialism, and how can you put him into context as a unifier for diverse inputs in that sense?
Well. First of all, we should take Beethoven and his music and everything we stand for very seriously, but we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. So it's not about us sending the great music into the world. It's about really just being more humble and contextualizing this fantastic music next to all kinds of other fantastic music that exists out in the world. And indeed, the worldwide success of Beethoven has a lot to do with worldwide colonialism. So it's about time, I think, that we listen back, as it were, and actually also provide a platform for the diversity of great music, also great music traditions that are out there, and to bring them in communication and resonance with our music. And that's a fantastic thing. That's just only enriching. So I'd love to have Afrobeat and Beethoven maybe in one concert if it's done well and if it's done respectfully. I think great music of the world can speak to each other in many interesting ways, and that's also certainly something I want to try to do.
That sounds very interesting. Yeni, would you be up for something like that?
I would love it. I would love it. One of my father's slogans was, music is the weapon of the future.
Yes.
Not guns, not bombs, music. Use music to speak the truth to power. Use music to force a change. And I mean, because I never even knew that the festival, the Beethoven Festival, existed till I spoke to you on Saturday, Karen. And so I Googled it and I started reading and I was like, wow. And it's been on since 1845. I was truly impressed. And it's like I knew about it before I started doing this festival on Fela, because it's like you're celebrating an icon from Germany and I'm celebrating an icon from Africa. It would be so great. It would be so great. I would love to see Afrobeat and classical music form a synergy. So it would be so wonderful.
It sounds like we have come up with a fantastic idea, definitely for a future project. A future project, yeah.
Yes.
Music is. I mean, Stephen, you mentioned when we spoke that music is sort of the universal language. I mean, is it the most transcendent of the art forms?
Well, in my opinion, it's so fascinating because it's both the most abstract art form. I mean, it's untouchable, right? It's not. You can't really grasp it in any way. It's gone immediately, but it's also extremely concrete. It speaks with an emotional intimacy and immediacy that no other art form, at least for me, can do. And this also applies to other music that we are not used to. So whenever I hear great African music or Asian music, even though I don't understand it, I'm equally touched, and it's like a force of nature. So yes, I think it really is a way to bridge language divides, to bridge cultural divides. It is a language that you do need to understand, but that can speak to you nonetheless if it's done well, and it is very powerful in that way.
Absolutely. Now, just quickly, because of course in the Beethoven year 2020, last year, the pandemic reigned on the festival's parade, which was incredibly upsetting. But have there been upsides to the COVID crisis in terms of more presence in the digital realm and greater reach?
Yes, I think there are several effects that are interesting coming out of the pandemic. I mean, it's been a terrible time for everyone working in culture, also here in Germany. But in terms of the long-term, projection, I think there's some good things to take out of it. For example, certain aspects of the jet set touring business, which I find quite critical in terms of the meaningfulness of cultural work. I think we need to go back to a kind of a more back to the roots type of local and serious in-depth cultural work, and not just drive-by concert giving. So that's one thing I think that is a positive effect. Another thing you mentioned is kind of the digital competence that I think many players in the field that are not so adept to digital means have learned very, very much, and I think have become much better at communicating digitally, which of course is an extremely important skill post-pandemic as well. So I think we really it has been an accelerator more than a change agent, because I think it just accelerated certain tendencies that and developments that were coming at us anyway.
Happening already. Yeni, your comments perhaps on biggest learnings for you after the COVID-19 disruption, and your views of the post-pandemic festival.
You see, the thing is, the pandemic allowed us to reach out to millions of people who never heard of Felabration before. Mm-hmm. The digital experience, we were forced to think outside the box and hold a digital Felabration. So now what is happening is, it's not just a hybrid festival, it's also a digital festival. So now we are online. We partnered with a TV station which was shown all over Africa, where Shrine is going digital. We're having, so we're going to be online. Shrine is going online now. So we have realized that you can actually be in one spot and talk to people all over the world. In Germany, you can watch Felabration live now. In France, you can watch Felabration. So the people who are Fela's fans, or who are not even Fela's fans, who have never heard, will say, oh, Felabration, let me even see what it's about. So we are speaking. So I know that COVID is bad and it's been disrupting to our lives, but there are some upsides to it, I believe. Yeah. Because it has made us think outside the box.
Absolutely. Yeah. It has
silver lining in the
been
cloud.
A great accelerator of innovation.
And I just wanted to say, sorry, Karen, I just wanted to say something that Steve said about music. My brother always says, my brother Femi, he plays music, Afrobeat music as well. He always says music is the only art form that you cannot touch, but touches you.
That's right.
So that's music. Is the only art form that you cannot touch, but touches you. I was just trying to buttress what Steve was saying. Yeah, Stephen was saying before.
Absolutely, no. It really is. It really does take us to completely different levels. And I'm just wondering, after this discussion today, what inspiration could you take from each other, Stephen?
Well, I find the sense of urgency that is just so apparent in Felabration amazing and really inspiring. It's in some ways hard if you're dealing with an icon that is 250 years old, as it were, and very established in high culture here in Europe, to find the sense of kind of almost revolutionary political urgency. And I find that very inspiring in everything I've seen online of what you do, and I hope to be able to go there someday.
Yeni,
yes, you're invited.
Any final thoughts from you on inspiration from a connection with Stephen Walter and the Beethoven Festival?
Yeah, Stephen, I'm just so happy that I've had the opportunity to meet you, because I've learned something I didn't even know before. I've learned you are celebrating an icon that is 250 years old. That's what I want for Felabration. I want us in 250 years. I won't be here, but people will be talking about Fela the same way you are talking about Beethoven, and so it's so inspirational to me. And I just hope and pray that Felabration will be celebrated just like the Beethoven Festival in 250 years' time. And thank you. it's been eye-opening for me because I got to read about the festival, and know about the festival. And I'm
Thanks so much.
Inspired.
Thank you so much.
Really great to hear. Cultural icons as models of innovation and who touch people very deeply, and festivals, music festivals, as a vital space to transport their revolutionary ideas. Thanks very much for your insights and for taking the time to speak with me today. Yeni Kuti in Lagos and Stephen Walter in Bonn. And all the best to both of you for 2022 and great festivals. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.